hello, or as they say, what's up, friends?
What's up, friends?
What's up,
friends?
Hey, everybody, what's up?
What's up, everyone?
Welcome to the DM's Book Club, a podcast where we talk about some Dungeons & Dragons and discuss how we might include it in our role-playing campaigns. That bit before was completely improvised. I don't know if you noticed at all. Just before we started the stream, we were trying to work out how to pronounce a certain character's name, and therefore going on to all these YouTube videos of reviews of the book we're going to review today. And my God, they all start with that sort of, what's up, everyone?
Hey, what's up, everyone? Hey, guys. Hamilton here. Just gonna go through this book. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. It's just
very interesting that they all start like that. Whereas I just go, welcome. I just assume people are happy to be here. I don't need to be over familiar with our listeners or viewers, but welcome everybody.
British
I'm glad you're here.
It's just British reservedness, isn't it? It's like, oh, do please come in and have sit down and have a listen.
Make sure you're
us.
comfortable. Yeah. Well, again, just to start off, my name is Fiona, and with me, as always, because we are on the Dragon's Duel Network, is Hamilton, my co-host. Hamilton, how are you, my friend?
I'm right. I just did a little dance there for people at home. Just for the listeners, just imagine me dancing, which I'm sure you can easily do.
For the listeners, don't. It's we've saved you from being scarred. But all good with you though this week? Everything?
Yes. Busy as ever. Busy doing stuff, but not seemingly getting halfway there all the time. But I think we're on the stretch. Yeah. No, played some more Curse of Straj, as I tell you every week. It's fucking creepy.
It's so good. It's so good.
That house with the Fred Dursts, as we're calling it.
Oh, the Durst family. Oh, they are so good. The creepy children. Yeah.
I knew they were. I mean, the minute we turned up, we're like, well, this is creepy. Like, why are we going in?
There are children here asking us to go in and defeat a monster in the basement. Well,
yeah, that's full of crap. Yeah, exactly. I detected good and evil on them, and I was like, why are they not coming up as undead? There's something dodgy here. My money is on hag magic at the moment.
Ooh, interesting.
That's where my money's on, but I'm not sure. I just thought because of our hag chat we had the other time, and they sometimes employ children. That's where I was at, and then we got to the attic and realised that they aren't alive anymore.
They've not been alive. Yeah.
So how were they not undead on my detect good and evil? Like, what is going on? I'm sorry.
Well, I can't spoil it for you, but it's a good reveal when you get there. But yes, and just to say for me, I spent the day going to nearly every bloody game shop I could find to get the alternate cover.
Did you get it?
For Fizzbands? No, I did not. It was released today, on the day where we're recording, so the 26th of October, so we're going to date this episode ASAP. Obviously, Fizzbands is now out, and it's out on D&D Beyond, which is great. And I'm sure we'll do our own deep dive view of it at some point. But I can't find, for love nor money, I'm running around going, do you have Fizzbands? And they're like, no, we don't have Fizzbands. And I'm like, Fizzbands!
Fizzbands!
In the streets. I'm sure it will be there in a couple of days' time, but I thought, whilst I'm here, I might as well go look. And then, nowhere around.
You know what? I will have a look tomorrow in my local game store as well, see if they've got it for you.
Yeah, because obviously that's very sweet. It's just more like just trying to support local game shops, because otherwise I fall foul to the evil Amazon place all the time. But I thought, you know what, because I loved our deep dive into Beyond the Witchlight and then got the alternate cover for that. I thought, why not go and do that? And then nobody bloody has it.
No one has it. Oh, it's a pain.
Anyway.
Can I say one thing I saw in it that I really like the title of? I did a quick deep dive into it, so this is so that we can be on topic.
On topic.
There's one. It has the Tiamat's the apparition or something like that of Tiamat. So it's when Tiamat gets summoned to the material plane. They have an ability which is called Hurl into Avernus, which is like such a cool title. It's not as well, unfortunately, it's not got as much flavour, but I would love to flavour that. It's like she grabs you and flings you through. It's a banishment spell into Avernus, and you take ridiculous amounts of psychic damage. And I just love this idea of just like, bye, sort of thing through Avernus, and you sort of just go whoa, through the fire, and then reappear like Loki in
Loki, through the portals, and just like absolutely. The one thing I did see that having a quick look beforehand was the Hydra dragon, which is essentially just a Hydra, and obviously it's like, you cut off the heads and stuff like that. But they keep regrowing, and you're like, yeah, hooray! So
I'm so happy. I'm so happy for it. As Dragon's Duelers know, we use dragons a lot, and so having more dragons that are more fun is great.
More dragons. Yes, tick.
Sorry.
I think we've ticked on that. But
Sorry.
we can't talk about Fizzbands because
No.
I don't have a copy. And it literally has come out today. But Hamilton, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about, now let's say this right, Minsc and Boo's Journal of Villainy.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. We find. Yes. Yeah. It is the. We spoke about it a little bit briefly. We spoke about it a little bit briefly a couple of weeks ago. That it got released and then taken off and then released again. This Extra Life supplement, essentially, about these two characters. And I mean, how would you describe it as a book per se? Like, what do you think is the context of it? Because I have my thoughts.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Oh, now you. So I feel like I have to. I see it as it's like a mini adventurer's guide too. I'd say sort of book. Like it's a. Funnily enough, we were listening back to our Ghost Walk from last week. I was always asking about there really hasn't been a campaign guide to Faerun. Well, this is a very mini campaign guide to Faerun with. That's what I'd give it. What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on it?
My first thought is that Journal of Villainy is it doesn't feel very villainous, and I'm going to say that at the top. Like I think.
Yeah.
I'll say this now. So obviously it's written. It's a bit like with Volos, with Mordenkainen, with Tasha's. There is a voice throughout, but in this one there is two voices per se. You have Minsc, so sort of little handwritten notes which usually refer to Boo in some way, and Volo, who is helping.
Yes.
And it's quite nice. What's quite cool about it is obviously like Volo is pretty much like writing, going, I have no idea how this idiot has survived this long, and promoting his other bloody books, which I love. It's just these little notes everywhere. So I love
how he gets scared about talking about the hells. He's like, I want to say that I have no, I'm cancelling myself out. I'm not sure I want to actually write about this because I don't want to get caught by a devil or something. Which is
exactly. So it's two sort of really interesting voices throughout. But I think it's interesting because it sort of covers topics of, we'll say, sort of hometowns, more of an expansion on group patrons, which has been sort of revealed. I think it was in Tasha's. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then it's like, and some villains and henchmen at the end.
Yeah.
But for me, it doesn't really talk about how do we go about making a villain, which is something you and I assumed. Like, what kind of good plot hooks there would be and stuff like that. So I actually feel the words Journal of Villainy is a bit of a mistype. But I think from your assessment of it, as in being like, here's some ideas, here's another sort of addition to maybe the Sword Coast or something like that, it actually works really well. So that's the only thing I'd say from that. I'm just a bit like, there is
Bad
Villainy.
Name, good stuff, basically.
Exactly. Yes. So that tick on that front.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. It's just, it's really not the right title.
It's. I think, but that is a good point, and we'll go on to actually with Boo and Miss. Oh my God, I've said it wrong. I've said it first of all the wrong way round, and not even the right name. Minsc and Boo, because they do appear in this book as stat blocks and stuff. And there's a really we'll talk about it in more detail. But one of my favourite things is that it says favoured enemy. And it says, Minsc's favourite enemy is evil. And I'm like, okay, that's quite funny. Like, I quite like that as a concept that, it's not a type of creature, which it would normally be, but it is actually just evil creatures.
It's all evil creatures, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, and there are some great stat blocks in here as well, actually. We get onto some others, don't we? But that is the thing that it does well for villains, and we come onto it as well, is high level and BBEG characters.
Yes.
That's what it does give you, but it doesn't give you the bits that you, as we're saying, like how to make your own BBEG or how to sort of play them so much, but it really does give you you want something that's 400 to 500 plus sort of hit points with serious like, the Lord of Hell sort of levels, and this is where you go for that, actually. And I think that's otherwise you Google them and find someone who's made them themselves.
And looking briefly at the villains that's been put in here, all of them are above CR 20. I think the highest one is like CR 75. No, CR 27.
Yes, that's right.
And you're like, and so even I don't know about you, I've never played a level 20 character in a campaign. This sounds like, again, we'll probably go into it a little bit, is that even if it's at the end of a campaign or something like that, you still might not defeat these creatures. So I wonder if this would be more of a one-off campaign encounter or anything like that. But I will say, with the henchmen, I think the idea may be, because we're sort of thinking about like how do we create villains, and in my head, I'm always someone who likes the human villain, which I know makes me sound very fucking pretentious, but it's just that you know, like somebody who's evil, but it's not because of some superpower. They're just a complete arsehole.
Just an arsehole.
And they have they've got these henchmen, which again I think are the sort of mini bosses that you could also fight, or you could or they could help you in some way to get closer if they decide to betray and stuff. And those are sort of at the end of the thing. And there's some really interesting ones there. But let's dive straight in. Where do you want to go first, Hamilton?
Well, I thought the cities would be good, the hometowns that they give you. They do have a little introduction that talks about how all this comes together, and but yeah, I think it's worth just going straight to the one of the hometowns, really.
Excellent.
So yeah, I thought we would just start with some of the cities. I guess I don't know. I like all of them, to be honest. I think Athkatla, I think is correct.
I'll go with that. Athkatla, yeah.
Athkatla, yeah. I love the idea of this city. It's very cool. They are all Faerunian cities, I believe, and this one is in the south of the Sword Coast, and is a city that I've never actually come across before myself. I don't know about yourself. No,
not at all. It's very like certainly this one and Baldurs Gate. So these surface dwelling towns. The other two that I mentioned are underground or elsewhere. This one, I think both this one and Baldur's Gate, they're trading towns. They're really into, well, not capitalism. Certainly this one is about capitalism.
Well, this one's serious capitalism, isn't it? This is, as they call it, as an oligarchy, because it's got this council of 6, very similar sort of, used to be secret, like the secret lords of Waterdeep, but now they're open lords. But it's got a very strict rule on magic. You can't use magic in here unless you're a member of a specific group of wizards, which are the Cowled Wizards.
Yes, the Cowled Wizards. And that was the best thing about it. I think there was this the only crime in this place, apart from being poor, which I was like,
that's the first bit. This is the most right wing city you're going to hit.
Yes, it is. It's very District 1 from Hunger Games, this idea of affluent, decadent, like everyone's showing off their wealth, money is power, that sort of thing. But so apart from the only crime is being poor, is that there's no magic use at all, and these Cowled Wizards are sort of patrolling, even they use it's limited number, which I think is really interesting actually, because you therefore can't, from my understanding and interpretation, you can't use magic to make yourself look prettier or younger or anything like that. So it's all about, material wealth. So you could be a haggard, older being or whatever, but it doesn't matter if you've got all the jewels and stuff. It's totally fine because that's what matters here. So
exactly. And I love how I find that they give people different names by their ranking, by their stature. Is given literally a physical material name. Yes. So there are ore, which is the poor.
The lowest of low,
Lowest of low. Then you've got bronze, copper, steel, silver, gold, platinum, all the way up to mithril, which is perfection. The highest possible rank. Yeah.
And what I like about that as well is that it's a common insult is to refer to someone of a lower rank than they are.
Yes.
And it could just be so slight. Like it could literally be like, oh, steel, are we? Like that sort of like horrible like jellyfish like spike.
Yeah, exactly. Thinking of exactly, and it makes me think a lot as well of sort of ancient Rome a bit, with the sort of there's the people eating until they are consumed. It's all revelry to a point where it's quite disgusting and sort of it's quite interesting.
The other thing to pick up on this as well, so they've got, obviously it's well known for its trade as well, so they've got this big promenade and stuff like that, but they have the shop of, is it called the Bazaar?
Yes.
And now I didn't realise this when I read this through the first time, but it's run by, and I'm going to get this wrong, it's run by Neogi, which are like spider-like beings, and if you ever look them up on D&D Beyond, because I thought, I wonder what they look like, and then I was like, oh no, I do not want to be served by these creatures.
Oh really? Oh, are they quite scary?
They are very scary, so I'll just read it out. So these are ruthless and enigmatic Neogi. They are planar travellers that trade in magical items and slave. Each visit to the shop brings a chance of danger. Sometimes when they're not interested in selling items, they're interested in acquiring slaves. When this happens, all the magical items in the store are illusionary and they've prepared an ambush. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, Jesus Christ. I do not like that.
No. So
No.
this idea that, you're in this place of affluent wealth or whatever, but then these creatures could be like, you look strong, and then everything disappear and you're having a fight when you've just gone to spend coin. So I just thought that was a really cool, different way of looking at it. Like these sort of miserly like creatures who can bring lots of wealth, but as a result that greed at the cost of what price? Which would be your freedom. Which I thought, cool. So
I like it. Yeah, there's sort of bit of a moral a parable to be had in there somewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what's great about it actually, and that happens in all of them, is that it gives you a good little bit of lore on the city and some of the history and the culture. Then goes on to laws instead of law, and a nice little map, which is always good. I always
love a good map.
And then it gives you shops and encounters, and I think that's really cool as well. So a good little bit of like specific specialties that it might do, and then also these encounters that kind of always seem to reside, that sort of reference whatever's happening in the city. So like something to do with the shadow thieves guild is in here, and because they got kicked out of Waterdeep, and this is one of their sort of locations.
Yeah, a little bit of flavour that just sort of describes a little bit more about it, and obviously it goes on later on in the book to describe more about if you become if that. Say the Shadow Thieves come up and give you patronage. It's like, there's a history there as well, which I quite like.
Yeah.
And just to briefly mention the other two cities, like Baldurs Gate, I think people vaguely know a lot about.
Yeah.
It's got video games, I think it's okay. Also very interesting, as you said, they've got all this history and stuff. But I do quite like, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, so this is my turn to pronounce something wrong, let me get it up. Is it Soldane's Cellar?
Yeah.
Soldane's Cellar? Something like that.
That sounds better than what I was going to say.
What were you going to say?
No, I'm not going to. I think that's right.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. So this
I think I put the L somewhere else.
So this idea that this basically this elven city with only 250 people in, which I thought was a very, very tiny sort of enclave essentially, in this tree called the Tree of Life. And again, this very, very small potted history of these two, this brother and sister who try to do a ritual to, certainly for the brother to become a lich essentially, which failed and almost killed the tree and all this sort of thing. And then they got sent to they died, but then the Shadowfell claimed them. So now there is this echo of this place, and that travelers and members of the city are drawn into it. And this idea that everyone's living, but they have family on the other side which they can't reach and they can't contact and all that sort of thing. It's just really interesting, and it's all in this amazing tree which has branches all the way up. Yes. And if you don't want to live anymore, I mean, look at that! It's such a great picture. If you don't want to live anymore, you just walk out onto the branches, and eventually the things will consume you and rip you apart
because that's actually how sometimes you end up in the Shadowfell version, isn't it? Because the people who live on the normal side, but the sort of main material plane side, they sort of can, if they get lost in the branches, might turn one way and then suddenly, fuck, I'm in the wrong place now. I'm in the bad place.
I'm in the bad place. Yes.
They talk about them further on, because it talks about them as part of the patrons that you can have as part of the group patrons. And it's even more dark and one of those tragic, classic tragic stories, isn't it? The sister was sort of jealous of her brother, who was because they were originally called the Icarus family. So it uses that as an analogy for it, I assume. But he sort of becomes a very impressive mage, and the favourite of the queen of the original city. Sister becomes jealous and tempts him to the dark side, sort of thing, and then it gets quite. It's very good.
Well, because she has her own. It's really interesting because she has her own interesting story about going into the domains of dread herself and making a pact with the dark powers. All these pacts and stuff coming out recently, like Feywild and Domain Dread. Dreadlords and all that sort of thing, and so she becomes a horrible vampire creature because she tries to kill the queen, and the queen manages to stab her at the last minute, and then becomes a vampire. So it's a we'll go on to the Order of Icarus, I think, because they are just such an interesting thing. But just to sort of tie it up as well, like again the other ones we've got obviously Baldurs Gate, and then Nathar, which is like a drow enclave all in a cavern. Which I just think that's so cool. This idea of, obviously it's going to be dark. It's just, it's going to be vast, but you won't see a sky. And they have to deal with other people that live nearby. So there could be an Illithid encampment nearby. Always you think, oh shit, that's actually quite scary. Mind flayers are bad, but this idea of obviously, if anyone knows it much about drow, obviously they are a sort of a matriarch, and this idea that there's a line with all these drow houses and stuff, and just a different way of looking a city structure. I all of them are really interesting cities, I think, and I think for me, I would love to. The only thing I'd say is that it's more likely, if you're setting off a new campaign, you're going to see one of the surface-dwelling cities, perhaps. But I love the idea of going to this
the Underdark, the
Underdark, or the Shadowfell,
Having that as your starting location is going to set off a good campaign, I think, isn't it? That's where you're starting.
It sets the tone, and then you're really does. Right.
Having been a Drizzt novel reader, the Underdark one obviously kind of appeals, and I think that would appeal to a lot of people who've got really into that sort of storyline, particularly the early ones when he's down in Menzoberranzan, which I think is how you say that. And it references that this is nearby. This is a smaller version of it, but if you know about the houses and the sort of and all the sort of the Lolth lore and all that stuff, it's really great. It's a good, actually, it's the first one I think in 5e that is set there. So if you need a map and you want somewhere to be, this is going to give you something to work with, which is really good.
The only last thing I want to say about this place in particular, so like I was talking about this in that first city, which I'm not going to pronounce because you pronounced it for us. In this one, there's something called the Aboleth Bowl. Now, interestingly, it's not out just yet at the time of recording, but on Halloween, myself and Derek from How Not to DM talk about horrors to put in your Halloween-themed campaigns, and he chose an Aboleth. And I won't spoil it too much, but this idea that here is like a bowl of some sort. So imagine a water tank with this ancient creature, more ancient than the gods, that will get artifacts and stuff. Yeah, look it up on D&D Beyond. It's a horrible, horrible nightmare. But they're very interested in having slaves. So depending on how much prestige you have, how much wealth you have, they might just go, actually, we'll have you. And they have an ability which means if you don't save against it, you just become charmed by them until it either dies or it's on another plane of existence, and that's it. And it can do that up to 3 times a day. Oh. And you have to do just to sort of, if you're getting more and more wealthy and stuff like, you have to do an intimidation check against it. And if you're looking at later on this sort of magic items thing, you have to get over 20 intimidation check to defeat it. It's gonna take you. It's gonna take you. So
it's definitely gonna take you. So you just don't walk past it. What's its range? That's what I would care about.
It's a terrifying creature, but that's for later. So if you want to listen to that podcast, that'll be out on Halloween with us and Derek. So
that will be out by the time this is live.
Time is an illusion. Yeah, it's already out. Well, what a great episode it was.
Time is a weird soup, isn't that what they say on Alexandra?
Time is a weird soup.
Time
is a weird soup.
Time is a weird soup. Yeah. So that's the cities. So we've got the group patrons then.
Yes.
Should we the first few then are ones that you might have seen elsewhere, I think is what we were saying, right?
Correct. Yeah. And ones that you'd be like, oh, obviously, I guess is the thing. Oh, obviously, these ones will be here. Yeah.
They sort of give you little quests, and they give you perks, and they give you 2 characters that you can know
You're
about.
Scrolling past him, but he's there.
I know. We'll go to. Should we start with the Adventurers Guild?
Let's start with the Adventurers Guild, because I think we'll do Adventurers Guild and then we'll do 2 more. I think just so we've got time. But yes,
They are the thing. I think that it does. You just were saying how it reminds me as well a little bit the sort of the factions in Waterdeep Dragon Heist. They do a similar thing. You get a contact with the faction you choose, and it gives you a few little quests and then some bonuses that you gain. But this is a much more in-depth version of that, I'd say. But it's very good. So yeah, do you want to talk about the Adventurers Guild then?
Yes. So it says it is a loose amalgamation of that supports the courageous or the foolhardy enough to pick it up as a professional mantle of adventuring. And so we've had of it in my home game, but there's always going to be an adventurers guild. There's always going to be mercenaries for hire in some way. So if you're not sure what to put into your campaign, this is an easy one to this. What I do quite like is that it's not just go fight and kill something. It gives some examples of operatives. So you've got like a cartographer. You go to this dungeon, find out what's in there, map out the room. A zoologist. Keeping up to date on the strengths and weaknesses of stuff that might be encountered. So that could be a combat one, but also at the same time you might just be like, oh, it's too strong, we now need to leave. A historian, so avoid repeating the mistakes of the previous adventurer party. So maybe like don't go down that route. Maybe like again with the cartographer sketching out a way through.
I like that having someone in the party that you can just call on who would have knowledge of what you're doing.
Yeah,
and that'd be quite. I think that could be quite a fun sort of thing. Very Indiana Jones. That sort of reminds me. Yeah,
and they do have like the face of the party as well, the iconic hero, the poster child for the guild. And they've got random quests as well, and he also talks about perks. So obviously, you'll get a nicer room for a good price. It's much easier to sell things legally because the Adventurers Guild will have fences and such ways and stuff. But I'm going to talk very, very quickly about the two contacts we have.
Yes.
And I'll say this with all the contacts, they have a really nice, juicy little history, which your players may never know about. Yep. And you'll get one of them at a lower level, and then you'll get one at a higher level, depending on what you're doing. So Cornelius Watson, or Doc Watson, he sounds like the sort of laissez-faire dude about town, tries his hand at everything, is a little bit magical, but actually, he's like, well, I've studied as far as I can get to, I am a doctor. But I like the fact at the end he gets to a point where he tries his hand at everything, including being a chef to get the perfect heat on a steak. That's when his family cut him off from his money.
that was the final straw. Yeah,
they were like, no, can't do it anymore. So in order to find a new source of income, he convinced a friend of his, who is the other contact, Flim. I'm going to say this wrong. Flim Shagglecran. Flim Shagglecran, gnome artificer who looks fucking amazing.
Yeah. I can imagine. It's like, hi, I'm Flim Shagglecran. I'm here. I'm going to take you on a ride. Where am I going to? That's where I'm at. Proper prospector.
Yeah. With obviously a creature, a sort of a steel defender called Metallison, which I love as a name.
Yes.
So good. So so these two people set up a guild essentially to create income, and it just says unoriginally they just called it the Adventurers Guild. And I just with that sort of flavour, and again Flim has his own really interesting thing as well. It just conjures up these characters, so instantly we the fact we both were like, yeah, that's going to be a prospective voice.
Yeah,
we've got a guy who's like, well, I know everything, but I don't have any money, so I need you to go out and get me some stuff. I just instantly see, and you just see these people working together like that. So I think if in doubt, Adventurers Guild is always the easiest way forward, but you've got two really interesting contacts as the head now.
Yeah, no, I really like that. And also, just interestingly, a bit of planar transportation on a ship.
Yes, from Flim. So again, it's a nice way to get people around a map.
Yes,
or get to places which.
It's your Sid from your Final Fantasy, basically.
It is your Sid, or from Kingdom Hearts as well. He's in Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, of course he is. Yeah, because that's Final Fantasy as well, isn't it?
It is Fantasy. Yeah. You were definitely right because he was there first. But
no, I've never actually played Kingdom Hearts. It's on the list again, but it's.
Oh, I've never played Final Fantasy, so we've both covered. We've covered each other.
We've covered off the fan bases. That's good.
Yeah. Whew. Awesome. So what about you? What sort of patron stands out to you then?
I mean, I liked Candlekeep. I think people have got a lot of that from the recent ones. Really great story with Valiagar, but I think I think people know a bit about them. Zan as well was actually a very interesting character, so I think really worth anyone back at home reading through that.
And just to say as well, this is definitely in the future, but we do have a guest episode on Candlekeep coming out in the future. I don't know when, but it has been recorded. And Candlekeep is an amazing place as a result. So,
and there's a beautiful bit of art of it here. I'm kind of like, yes, I quite like the sound of it, and this would help add to your Candlekeep campaign for sure. Like, it's got some really interesting characters and gives you a bit more of the lore. And maybe it could be something to sort of tie you off from when you started the Candlekeep. Then let's go into a full campaign. You could just use that.
Absolutely.
Church of Soon, again, another interesting one. It makes me think of our Paladins of Beauty from the Feywild Companion. So when we do our Mean Girls Strixhaven with our Paladins of Beauty, they're probably going to have to be Church of Soon, sort of.
I like that.
Maybe that's the house in Strixhaven, like one of the houses, like the housemate, the like Ravenclaw and all that stuff. This one's the Soonists.
Soon ones.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
So they're again interesting and both. Interesting characters, but then
those ones just because I know we're skipping through these a little bit. Those two are male twins in this one, which I thought was interesting. There's a lot of twins or stuff like that, but there's one that is definitely like you can just see that image there of like ha, and then the other one who's using more magical stuff. So it's very interesting, very cool. All the artwork's great.
All the
artwork is great.
And then I know we're moving through as well fast, but the Emerald Enclave, again, something that you can find a lot about, but a really good little sneaky in there. The fact that someone's infiltrating and
this person Faldorn is actually a shadow thief, and they're trying to get up the ladders. But the other person
knows about it, which is Kivern the Grim.
Kivian. Yeah, he knows about it. So it's a bit like, but because he used to work for her, and now there's this inner tension where obviously he could reveal her intentions, but then she could also reveal, well, but you were with me because they've had this previous.
And also that whole that he's known for too long now that it's awkward that if he now says, it's like, well, you know this like years ago. Well, why has it taken till they're in this high-ranking position? So, really good.
And I like that as well. That there are through most of these patron contacts, there are ties between the two of them. So there is like either a tension or they know each other really well, and it's just because obviously they'll come up in conversation, and so you as a DM could be like. And they'd be like, oh, the player's like, what's going on? There's like, it just feels like
there's a subtle look, insight check, a good insight check time. What's going on? Yeah.
Exactly.
100%. So then, Flaming Fist, another one that's in Waterdeep Dragon Heist, a mercenary group based out of Baldurs Gate, but they are all over the Sword Coast that sort of. They do law enforcement in cities basically, and they're used as the law enforcement in Baldur's Gate itself, actually, instead of as like the guard. Not good. Not my favourite personally. No. I thought they were the most sort of generic.
Yeah, I can imagine because they're in the city I can't name at the beginning, as well as the Ashkara.
I think that's right. I'm gonna have to go back and check quickly.
We're not. No, but so they're the local law enforcement of that city as well. So it's each to their own. Again, all of these things you could always reflavor as well and change the names and stuff. As I can just see at the bottom there, Harpers. We know all about Harpers.
Yes.
They're bloody everywhere.
Yeah, they're bloody everywhere. So we don't need to go into that. But no, again, great characters. Again.
Art.
So then let's move on to the Knights of Bahamut.
Yes! Very cool.
Yes. So this one is a new one. So this one they've made just specifically, I can't say that word, it's one of those words I can't say, specifically for this book. And it's good. I like it.
Yeah, it says at the bottom, it says, unlike the other group patrons, but the Knights of Bahamut doesn't exist yet. As a functioning organisation, it is up to you and the party members to build them up. So what a great thing. You don't need to do any adventure or anything like that. They could just be chosen, and then you've got to make it up as they go along. And there's no real perks or anything like that other than, hey, if you find the dragon egg and the parents have died, and it's on its own and it's still viable, you could have a bloody dragon mount. And I'm like, that sounds like
signed up. I've signed up.
Yeah, it sounds like a Hagrid from Harry Potter thing going on.
Yes.
Yeah, but I quite liked the detail it had about like how must you hatch your dragon, and we'll go on to the Order of Icarus. I know because it has a similar thing where it's like here's something specific to this order, this sort of thing, and it goes for these different dragon eggs. They're all metallic dragon eggs, I will say as well. That you have to do certain things to make sure they're viable, and they'll hatch in 3d6 weeks or something like that. So you're like, bloody hell.
Yeah, it's going to be some time. Some downtime's going to happen there. Do some research.
Where you're just heating one egg on the
stove.
It's like, come on.
The gas bill is going to be completely wrecked for that one, isn't it? That's for sure.
You're just constant. You're getting up in the night to do what's it called? Not fireball. The other one.
Oh, firebolt.
Firebolt. So you're just firebolting in the middle of, like getting up for a small child in the middle of the night going, firebolt.
You can, because it says you can imbue it with some firebolt spells for a certain amount for some time as well. Yeah, I like that. It's
that's the gold one, the gold dragon one.
Yes, exactly. It's good fun, and I think it's worth, just in case people don't know who Bahamut is. It's the sort of main metallic dragon, the leader, the sort of the child of Io, the god of dragons, when they split into basically Tiamat and Bahamut. Bahamut are the two sort of opposing diametrics of those two, and so this is all focusing on the sort of, as I said, metallic dragons. But yeah, I think it's quite fun, and some of the little quests are quite good, like go track down an ancient relic, or just go and get a dragon egg from a chromatic dragon that's raided the nest of a metallic dragon. Some really, and also like accompanying an adult silver dragon into the desert to investigate some ruins. I want that. That sounds fun.
That sounds great. Like, I don't think you need to go, really, because the dragon probably can handle itself.
Yeah, I'm only level 1, but yeah, I'll do what I can.
Right, I'll have a go.
Yeah.
And obviously, the two contacts for this, obviously, one is the namesake of this book.
This book.
This book, Minsc and Boo, which is, again, like I said earlier, is like the favourite enemy being evil. Boo having stuff as well. Go for the eyes, Boo.
I love he's got his stat rock rat. It's like, you could have got a bit more than a rat, but it's fine.
Oh no, because I like it, because then obviously as a bonus action you can talk to Boo and gain inspiration to go into a berserker rage, and then whilst all this happens, if there's all this stuff that happens because you're trying to protect your little friend, which I absolutely love. I think it's great. Oh yeah, if Boo takes damage, Minsc can choose to take the damage instead. That's as a reaction.
It's so sweet. It is really sweet. I also like their other strange companions, which is Boo's Minister Space Hamster Cousin, which is fine. But then I want a dolphin with a fly speed of 30
dolphin.
feet.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever played Echo the Dolphin on PlayStation.
I played on Sega Mega Drive, I think.
See, that's what I can say. Oh, Backpack Guy, the space mimic.
Mimic that only see in the form of a backpack, refuses to fight unless worn.
It's so good. And I will say the other content. Oh my god.
The other contact.
Sildon.
Yeah.
Sildil. Again, has a great story. I mean, look at that image.
I know, and what a backstory it is as well. Yeah, go for it.
It's so sad. So essentially, she gained everything and became like a rising knight in the Night of Bahamut, and then lost everything: the dragon mount, her partner, her son, and then was just saved by a nymph in the Feywild. But then spent the next decade convincing the nymph to let her go, because the nymph was obsessed with her. And then, so a decade passed, and eventually the nymph agreed to let her go. But by the time she came back, a whole millennia had passed. And it's the first time that she discovered the Feywild had this time distortion thing. And now she's rebuilding the Knights of Bahamut back, slowly but surely. She's got a new bronze dragon that she's managed to find and raise. And it's just, I just think that's such a great tragic story.
Yeah.
Like, it is proper. You posted a gif of it recently from Wreck-It Ralph, who's played by the woman from Glee, the commander woman. I can't remember her name.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry.
Oh yes, no, I'm sorry. It's so long ago since I've seen the movie, but I know exactly who you mean. But yeah.
I want to say Delhoon. Anyway, I want to say something Delhoon. I want to say.
Should we Google
But
it?
anyway,
I can Google it
yeah,
now. Let's do it. Let's Google it now.
But it just says, and I think that she was created with the most tragic backstory ever.
Yeah.
That's what I think with this one is. Calhoun, she's called.
Calhoun, there you go. Okay. Yeah.
Look at that file of facts. My brain going. Whoa.
Big brain time. That was big brain
brain
time.
time.
Well done.
It needs to rest now.
It's really good, and that's the thing about this book. Even though, as we said, the title's wrong, the content is incredible, and the writer is the writer from Baldurs Gate. It didn't say from Baldurs Gate, the video games, the old school ones, the originals on the PC, and it's got a really good hand, a good voice, sorry, in it, and it's really it's some of this stuff is good stuff. I like it.
It's bonkers, yeah.
It's my kind of bonkers that I like.
It is, absolutely, and we'll just quickly blast through because I'm aware of time.
Yes.
Like the Order of Icarus. John Irenaeus. I don't know.
Yes,
but it has. Oh, look at that image! Oh, look at those images of the two.
I know.
Incredible. He's terrifying enough, but if you see what what's she called now? She's on the other page. It's on the next page. Bodhi. Her fingers are in somebody's orifices.
Yes.
Oh.
Actually, in multiple. Actually, yeah, right. Oh, yeah. That's
badass.
It's pretty. Definitely not in nice. nice.
She's evil.
She's
through and
evil,
through.
yeah.
But she's so cool. But with
cool.
both of them, they obviously have their own thing. But like what I quite like about John's one is that if you become friendly with him, you're only available as a contact at level 11. He's willing to share the secret of lichdom with a wizard who is at least level 17 and swears long life fealty to him. And then it has a whole bloody like how to do it. And you're thinking to yourself, would players do this? But I think it'd be cool to be like, here's your adventure hook, and then just doing it all and capturing a soul, and then doing all this bit. Oh,
if you want
really
to play,
cool.
I mean, if you wanted to play that evil campaign, then this is sort of something that you could use. But also, just if you're playing a good campaign, you're trying to do the whole infiltrate, gain the secrets of lichdom for some other reason. I don't know what that could be just because you're interested in knowledge, that sort of like the wizard who just starts to want more knowledge, and you could be playing and it suddenly the temptation maybe is there for your character, and it could be quite interesting. Or even if that's even what an NPC is doing, you can have an NPC who's infiltrated this sect and you're not sure. It's like in this is a spoiler for Dragon Heist, so big spoilers, so warning to everyone, but for the next 2 minutes just listen. But there's in Xanathar's guild, there's a Bregendarth sorcerer who's actually become Xanathar's key sorcerer, and it does say you can play it that they've become a double agent or they are still an agent within the Xanathar guild. So if you're playing as a Bregendarth sort of affiliated player, they can be helpful to you, or they could not be. But then when you go and meet them as a contact in, like, if you're in Xanathar's hideout trying to infiltrate there's that sort of moment where I played it with my characters. They were with some Bregendarth, where I sort of tried to do the, is he good? Is he bad? Sort of, that sort of, has he become part of the Xanathar guild? I don't know. It's just kind of fun. So
I like that.
Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah, and I think what's interesting with all these contacts as well, I think these, like, certainly these two are villains. Like, that's one thing. But they're going on quickly then. I know we've got a few others to go through, but let's look at some of these villains. So is there any villain that stuck out to you at all? Out of the 6 that they've provided in this, oh god, what a picture.
Bhaalspawn. Is, I mean, straight off the bat is just...
The Slug Archduke,
yes.
which I loved. Oh.
I mean, the hells and the sort of infighting and the sort of, like, it's that real proper gothic horror sort of, but slightly campy story of just, like, fallen angels and like machinations of, what's Machiavellian machinations, sort of like everyone's like always out to get one up on Asmodeus, who we all know knows exactly what's going on.
He does.
He's
just fucking going, what are you guys fucking doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
seriously, like, has he ever stepped wrong? Like, he always... I mean, he's even got Tiamat flying about in his lands, you know, like
Tiamat. He punished his daughter to be like one of the levels of like in her prison of hell as the you know, like he.
Like, why do you keep trying? I don't know.
There's a reason why he doesn't have a stat block.
Yeah.
Because he's undefeatable.
Yes, exactly. There's exact reason. So after Beelzebub had a go, he got turned and he was vain. It's in a classic, you know, it's that parable. It was vain, beautiful, considered the most beautiful angel at one point, I think, wasn't it? So it's that sort of Asmodeus cursed him in this form of basically Nurgle, if you're a Warhammer fan as well. It's just pustulant, bulging slug thing, which is, and it just belches at you.
It's got flies, it's got stenches, it's awful.
It has not only a fear gaze, fear and weakness gaze.
Yeah. That's pretty bad. And yeah, just having a quick look at some of the there's the, I'm going to say this name wrong, Sendam, so the Slaad right at the end.
Oh, yeah.
It's a female sort of frog. So she, again, thanks to Derek, oh, look at that picture, it's great. That picture, the Slaad or Sladdy, Derek picked in his horrors one as well, and I hadn't heard of them because they were created by Primus, the Lord of Mechanus. And so there's a whole story behind that he excreted them out because he went to try and sort out the chaos of limbo, but then something hit him or got into his blood and he was sick, and then he just was like, well, I'm just going to leave now, and then the Slaad were born out of this sort of stone and stuff. And she is the leader of it. It's the whole Lord of Madness stuff. But unfortunately, Hamilton, we've run out of time.
We have run out of time, and there are so many other greats. I will just skip. There you go. I will leave it. We'll go back to...
I think we will definitely say that it is worth your time and money. This is obviously for charities, for Extra Life. Like, there is so many good ideas in here. Like, again, I know our little nitpicky thing about, is it about villains? It's because we want to create villains, but I think some of these ones are really interesting. 100%. And I will say those less... I mean, obviously, very briefly looking at those two villains at the end, they are high level, they are world ending, so maybe using some of the contacts perhaps instead as the in between bosses in the way.
Exactly. I'm looking at this. What's the CR rating on Beelzebub?
I can tell you Beelzebub is 26. Bhaal, who is the god of murder, we didn't even get into Bhaal. No. He has two forms. Yes. One at level 20, level CR 20, which is hard enough, and then one at levels 24. So even when he dies, he then transforms into this creature, and you're just like,
good old Dark Souls 2 stage. Yeah, that's what you need. I mean, this is Vecna. Exactly. Talking about Critical Role a couple of weeks ago. This is like this is your Vecna. This is when you've done 4 years campaign and you need to end it, and you want to do something super.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or season 3 of Dragon's Duel.
Yes, pretty much.
That's what I'm going to chuck at them, because they keep beating me at dragons. So I'm going to just chuck Beelzebub at them and see what happens.
Oh no. Anyway, we've got to come to the end of this. No, it's fine. It's me being an idiot and scheduling too many things and not too much time. Hamilton, thank you so much for this. Where can we find you? What are you up to? Fine. What's going on?
Well, you can find me at DM Doesn't for me personal, and also at Dragon's Duel, all one word. We are just about to get started with some season 3 and some Christmas specials coming up. Lots of stuff. We are looking. If people are interested, we're looking for players. If people want to play or join as teams to come and be guests. So we're also looking for players in a long play campaign, but we're also looking for guest shows to come onto the game show and play in our silly game show for season 3, which will be really kicking off in the new year. So if people are interested, contact me.
Yes. Well, that's how I got involved, and now I can't leave.
Yes.
Not at all. And well, also we're both doing it. Look, we're both wearing merch.
Oh yes, I have merch. Yes,
we've got merch. Look,
Dragon's Duel tees. This is a character tee from our show, so we've got lots of characters, and we will do special requests, and that is you can get
That's the look.
They call it a Razorback, I think, tee.
Yes.
Yeah, if you think sleeves are bullshit, you can have one of those.
Yeah, I do think sleeves are bullshit, but also it's very cold. Hence why I've got the under.
Yeah, exactly. It's also England, so
it's also England.
if you're in the
yes.
Californias or something, then this is probably better.
Yeah, if you want to look cool, get some merch.
Yeah, exactly.
And just to quickly finish off, my name is Fiona. I run the What Am I Rolling podcast, a twice monthly RPG one-shot podcast. As always, it's going very well. When was this coming out? Vert, I think part 1 will be out, which is exciting. Yes, because Halloween's gone. Vert, which is fantastic. Part 2 will be on its way. And as Hamilton knows, something very exciting is happening to me. And I don't know how to... listeners, you can't see it, but viewers could definitely see this sort of like, oh my god. So there'll be more stuff happening once I've got my head around this big project I've just got landed. So
Yes.
we'll see how that goes. And as always, you can also get 10% off at Third Space Gaming in Burnley. Just type in the offer code DMBC on checkout on your first order, and you can buy anything. Maybe they'll have Fizzbands. I don't know. I still have to bloody look for this bloody book in the next 2 days. So
I'm going to go to the shop near me. We'll find it.
We'll find it. Great. Well, until next time, friends, thank you so much.
Thank you
for listening.
And you will see what we're doing next week in a VT card that will come up next. See you then.
Okay.
Love you. Bye.